Well, I don't know what happened to Chrissy. I've been stuck in this theater for another week or so, and she disappeared a few days ago. I haven't been able to find her since, and I still have. Who the fuck are you?
Hello. I'm the person that sat 5 rows behind you in the last screening.
There was no one here last time. Who are you?
Well, I'm the Abbey Roadie, who was also invisible at that point.
Are you a ghost? Were you the one haunting us?
Maybe, maybe not. I'll leave that for you to decide.
What'd you do to Chrissy?
Oh, she's fine-ish.
Oh, God, no!
Don't worry. She's just behind the scenes right now, preparing something fun and ghouly and ghosty for us. Speaking of which.
Okay, so is it just going to be like last time where the poster just appears? Like it did, like it appeared for me and Chrissy. Ah! Dan Aykroyd!
Oh, my God!
Dan Aykroyd, where'd you come from? Oh, God! He's...
Goodness gracious.
Dan, no, there he goes. Dan's going back to hell. There he goes.
Yeah, look at it, and like an angel's kiss, he's gone.
Okay, so I'm pretty spooked. So I don't know. Do you want to talk about Casper? That's not Casper. That's Kathy Moriarty. That's not Casper. That's not Casper. That's Don Rickles. No, it's Eric Idle.
That's close enough.
You're closer. You're closer. There we go. There it is. There we go. I think that this poster is gonna this whatever this thing is projecting these posters has been giving us difficulty lately.
Well, at least it works now. So
Dan Aykroyd, you get the fuck out of here. Dan Aykroyd,
hey, we already paid you for your cameo.
Out.
Now go. Now go. Take your paycheck and go.
Paid for your fucking cameo and shave your mustache.
Well, I mean, it looks like you shaved it for this time. But...
So anyway, hi. We're today. I am with my friend Lauren. Say hi, Lauren.
Yes. Hello. Hi. And I don't know how many of you people follow me on Twitter and whatnot, but yeah, I'm the Abbey Roadie. And Michael and I hang out quite a bit. But this is the first time that we're hanging out officially on a stream like this.
On a thingy. But yeah, today we with the theme of Spooky Month, we were just kind of like, I want to talk about the 90s Casper. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and it's funny because I mean, it's kind of like a tradition that like every year I have to watch it, and I reprimand myself every time I miss it if I do. But it's like it's more or less a tradition as much of a product of its time that it is. I love going back over it and seeing and kind of just seeing everything from an observant and analytical lens this time.
It's funny because I think I saw this movie for the first time 5 years ago.
Really?
And I'd never seen it. I had known about it for a long time, but I especially remember all the straight to DVD movies because they used to air some of those on Cartoon Network a lot, but they never aired the old one like this one. So I don't know. I never watched it. And then in like 2015, 2016, I got curious. And I don't remember if my mom brought home like the DVD because she was a librarian and she just had it on hand, or if I found it on streaming, but I watched it. I like it. I don't know. I really like the movie. Unironically, I really, really like this movie. I don't know. It's
better. I think it's something that gets better over time in terms of like, I don't know. It's something about the jokes. I think, especially when I grew up watching this, though. I was a little kid when I first saw this movie. And yeah, there's plenty of jokes that would have flown right over my head as a kid that I can laugh at now. And especially references and including cameos. So, I mean,
the very weird cameos in this movie.
I'm maybe I'm not even the only one in this camp, but I was introduced to Guido Sarducci because of this movie. So there's that.
Can you perform an exorcism? Well,
I read about it. I don't know if I
watch
can
some videos.
do it. I don't know if I can do it per se, but
I talked to people who've done it, and it seems easy. We could do it, and then it's like,
and then he walks
sure?
out with the fucking head turned around.
And it's funny because it's also got like the pea soup all over him, like out of The Exorcist.
Yeah.
And then just
Anyway, I
like,
guess-
it's a piece of cake, piece of crumb cake.
I guess we should briefly give a synopsis for the movie.
So yeah, let's do a quick rundown. So, do you want to do it, or should I do it?
I can do it.
All right.
I'd say, okay, so the plot of the movie is Casper lives in this old mansion. I just watched the movie yesterday and I forget what they called it. The
Whipstaff Manor.
Whipstaff. I know he lives there with his 3 uncles, and one day, well, basically it opens with Kathy Moriarty and Eric Idle, and I'm not going to call them by their names because I don't remember their fucking names.
It's Kerrigan and Tibbs.
I remember Tibbs. I remember Eric Idle was named like Tibbs.
It was Dibs. It was like Dibs and yeah, and Kerrigan was her name.
I don't know what the fuck. What is that?
I have no idea what that was. That
Get
was
out of
something.
the corner. I see that. Oh gosh, the little ghost. It's a little ghost. Hi.
Is this theater haunted?
Yeah, well, that's when we were having problems last time, but I think the specters are a lot more prominent today than they were last time.
I guess it's the season.
Oh God, there he goes.
Man, they're just gonna come out to play this time, huh?
Anyway, so basically, Kerrigan, Kathy Moriarty, and Eric Idle find out that they find a will. I don't remember if it's someone who owned the mansion, I think, or something.
Yeah, it's Kerrigan's. Her father basically passes on and leaves the manor to her. So, and she ends up finding out that there is like a treasure. Like, basically, she finds out there's something in the mansion, and so she tries to get a bunch of people to get in the house to get the ghosts out. They keep getting too scared, and she ends up finding out about basically a ghost whisperer. Played by, or like a ghost psychologist played by Bill Pullman, and his daughter Christina Ricci, and she's basically like, okay, this is my last chance. Get in the house. Basically, Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci move into the house. They end up becoming friends with the ghost, and honestly, it's hijinks ensue for most of the film. And then there actually is a climax at the end. In terms of going like, oh yeah, remember that this whole thing started with Kerrigan and Dibs? What happened?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, her. Oh God, there she is. That ghost. Yeah, I feel like we're gonna be in spoiler territory for this anyway, right? So for a 26-year-old movie. Yeah. Yeah, no, I was kind of surprised when I was watching it because I had looked into Kathy Moriarty, go away. Go away, Kathy Moriarty. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. There he goes. Yeah, no. Dan Aykroyd again. We really need to. He's not even dead. We really need to lock the doors on this place. Yeah, I need to lock the doors or something, or I don't know. We need we need to have vacuums on standby. But... vacuum up Dan Aykroyd. But yeah, no, I was interested to find out this movie made a fuck ton of money when it came out. I was actually really surprised when I looked at the box office. I think it made nearly 300 million worldwide. And that's a lot for 1995. For 95, that's like 500-600 million now almost, I think. Yeah. And I was surprised because I had never really heard a lot of people talk about it when I was a kid. But I guess getting into the movie itself, I don't know, like what do you think of Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci in this movie? It's so funny because I really like that they do try to show it's this sort of strained father-daughter relationship, because it is established early on that
the whole reason that the father goes into the ghost therapy is the ghost psychology, really, is that his wife died, and he leaves standard psychology and becomes a ghost psychologist to go and find her and see what happened to her soul. To basically, because I guess she got sick and died or something like that. Somehow she died prematurely.
They don't really explain it. I think it's assumed that she got sick.
Yeah. So and then basically he moves his daughter Christina Ricci, who's Cat, short for Kathy. Wow. But moves her around the country and puts that strain on the relationship because he's constantly chasing. It's almost like chasing a unicorn, basically, and she doesn't believe that he's going to find her.
And I think they said that they moved. I think she said she'd been to like 4 different schools.
9,
like a year.
9 of them.
9. I remember being like 5. Yeah, no, something like in like a year or two, she'd moved to like 9 different cities.
Yeah, she says, I've been to like 9 different schools, sat in 9 different cafeterias. I don't even know anybody's name. So she's like, so they end up finding themselves in Friendship, Maine, to live in the mansion. And so this is Kat's first opportunity to go and, to this school and try and make friends. And so she's very much like, I want to make friends. But yeah, I personally, I love the casting for the two of them. It is funny because I think this was the first time when I was a kid this was my introduction to Bill Pullman. Because I know for most other people, I feel like there was a lot of people who either were introduced through Spaceballs and all that kind of stuff.
Sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, because this was the year before Independence Day, which I thought was also really interesting.
Yeah. That was, I feel like, at least in terms of my age group, maybe for anybody that didn't grow up with like Spaceballs that early on. Well, then again, I was really young. I was freaking 2 years old when this movie came out. So by the time I was able to watch it, it was like I was probably still in the 90s, so I still watched it. But
you want to know something interesting about Bill Pullman's casting?
But
when I was doing my research, I found out they originally had 3 other actors in mind.
Who'd they have?
And originally, they wanted Tom Hanks to play the role. They wanted Tom Hanks, Robin Williams, or Jim Carrey in the role.
It's funny because I could see. I mean, any one of them would have been a good choice too. But I could actually, after when I look back on The Mask, actually I could see Jim Carrey doing it and actually like being able to play the kind of the socially awkward kind of dad.
Well, it's funny because during that period, that would have been fresh off Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, and The Mask. So this would have been like the first time he had played like a fully straight role, I think, if he had done this.
Yeah,
I think
generally.
the most interesting one to me is I would have been interested to see what this movie would have been if Robin Williams was the dad.
Yeah, I feel like, especially because I feel like Robin Williams brings this. He did it, especially when you think of like Mrs. Doubtfire. He brought a wholesomeness to each role he did, even if it was comical. There was a certain wholesome dad quality that he would bring.
I think of Mrs. Doubtfire when I think of that.
Yeah, that's basically what I think of. Is like he would probably bring a kind of a Mrs. Doubtfire performance to it, which I would personally really like to see that kind of thing. But given what we got with Bill Pullman, I still think he was actually pretty. I can't complain with the casting for that.
Oh no,
especially with Christina Ricci.
Christina Ricci,
the daughter. She was so perfect to be the jaded middle school daughter.
Christina Ricci was and still is. She's such a good actor. Like even it's funny because I was watching the movie, I had completely blanked she was in Addams Family. So I thought I had completely blanked. So I thought this was like one of her first movies. This was her 5th movie.
Yeah.
Her first
very
movie was
accomplished.
Mermaids with Cher. That was her first movie. And then it was
Amazing.
Addams Family. And she's like one of the very few child actors off the top of my head where she was legitimately like a really good actor, even when she was like 9 years old.
Mm-hmm. She was born with that talent. She just has it. And she was really, and again, it's the casting of not only being just like, she's just a generally great actress, but also the irony of casting her in a role of somebody who's like, I don't believe in ghosts and stuff like that, from an Addams Family member who like lives nothing but the spooky. So
yeah. The interesting thing, when I was digging in for stuff about the film last night, did you know she fucking hates this movie?
I feel like to a degree I believe that, because I mean, even if we both love it or appreciate it, I could understand if she didn't have as great of a memory or fond a memory of it.
Oh yeah, apparently she did like an interview a couple years ago where she said like, oh, thinking back on it, this movie's fucking stupid. It's about me falling in love with a ghost. That's like almost word for word what she said.
And I think that's probably where we could probably, speaking of which, we probably get into some of the things where I'm like, if we're going to really nitpick on some of these, okay, there he goes again.
Oh
spooky.
shit. Ah.
Gets right there under your seat. He's being sneaky. But, but I could,
I see.
I sense he's close.
I sense him down there. Oh god, there he is.
Oh god, there he is.
I'm going to name him Timothy.
All right, Timothy. Can you wait a couple minutes here? A little more.
See you. A little more.
I see your leg.
A little more. I still see your leg.
I see your toes.
See your leg.
You know what? Good enough. Okay, never. I was gonna say that was probably where I could get into the nitpicking in terms of if we were to, I mean, I know it's not a movie you're supposed to take 100% seriously, but if we're going to nitpick, when we talk about, a girl falling in love with a ghost, that's not even the real issue that I have with it at all. It's more the fact that literally Casper gets the hots for a girl he sees on TV and lures them there to his house because he has fallen in love with said human girl.
Yeah, that's the one. I have 2 or 3 gripes with the movie. That's kind of the one thing where I'm like, that's a little weird. And especially nowadays, I don't think you could make a movie where a character lures the girl to where he
And I think
lives.
the only, again, and plus on top of that, I'm like, I feel like maybe they thought they could get away with it because he's 12 years old, but then I'm thinking, dude, no 12-year-old should have this kind of mindset. What the
fuck is that?
Oh god, that scene. No. It's,
okay. Here's the thing. I think the God. I think the friendship they have, I legitimately like the two of them together. I think they're a good pair together. I don't like the romance stuff. They don't do, which is weird because they also don't do a lot with it.
No.
And whenever they do,
Yeah, I like the moments where they do have a genuine like friendship, and obviously they have, I want to say, shared trauma that they bond through.
The scene of them on the lighthouse is fucking great. Like just them sitting there talking about how he doesn't remember his past life and just the movie asks very kind of weirdly philosophical questions about death. It's actually more intriguing than you'd think it would be for a Casper movie.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think what's cool is when you're presented with something like a movie that presents itself with characters that are dead, you would hope that they kind of have some kind of, maybe they could have a discussion about, what it's like being dead, or what's it like to die, or what's it like to, what's the concept of crossing over? How does it feel? Yeah. I think it's still a goofy line, but it sounds like what a kid would say anyways. The what's it feel like? What are you made of? And it's like, that feeling when your foot falls asleep.
Yeah.
I think I'm made of that.
That's a line. That's a weird.
Yeah. I'm like, it's such an abstract line, and I'm like, yeah, I believe a kid would say that.
Hey, should we talk about the titular ghost?
Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting because I looked at the actor that plays the kid, Casper, Malachi Pearson.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't done a lot. He hasn't done a lot outside of this movie. He only has done like 6 or 7 things, I think.
Yeah, he
Which
was
is funny.
It's
interesting
actor.
for an introductory role. It's interesting to be the title character in a Casper movie.
Yeah, but it was at the same time. I think he brought that. He really was like a proper fit for Casper in terms of like the vocal quality. Yep, there he is. Actually, he looks like nowadays.
Like if you've seen what the kid from Neverending Story looks like, he looks like that now too. He looks like the same. He looks like a hipster.
And it's funny because they had a different actor play his living Casper, and they both look like they're similar though. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Young, I'm like, you might as well have just used Malachi.
It's so weird because I'm like, for those of you who are Final Destination Idle Hands fans, a young Devon Sawa plays a live action Casper. I think it was one of his first movies.
Yeah.
Was the other thing. It was really weird because I looked him up because I'm like, who's that kid? Like that. I wonder if that kid went on to do anything. And I'm like, oh, it's fucking Devon Sawa. Okay. From like 90s teen heartthrob Devon Sawa.
And it's like, and then you realize, oh, that's why they used him instead of just using Malachi. They used
even though he was like 15, which is still kind of gross. But
yeah, but I mean, hey, that's what Jonathan Taylor Thomas was pretty much in the same boat. Like they put him in everything, and it's the little teen heartthrob. So
yeah, but yeah, it's interesting because I actually found out because this came out the same year as Toy Story. Mm-hmm. And I found out that this was the first film to ever use a fully CG character.
Wow.
In the lead role, like in the title role, it is the first film to ever have a CG lead.
That's amazing. I mean, and honestly, looking back,
they had four. They had 4.
Yeah, 4 that would dominate the screen. 5 or 6, depending if you want to count the later ones that show up for a couple seconds. But yeah, it's like I was able to even look back on this and go, man, especially at the time, it still looks really impressive. Like I'm able to look back going like, man, 1995 was the year. We had Toy Story and we had this. It was like, but to actually merge the two together with the live action performers actually interacting really well with the CG, I'm like, it really is kind of believable. You kind of just forget that it's like that. I
saw you, Dan Aykroyd.
You keep sneaking in here. Let's talk about the Aykroyd in the room. Then let's just bring him in. Just come in here, Dan Aykroyd.
Get in here, tiny Aykroyd. There he is.
So, yeah, he's
get on my fucking head.
Oh no, he's nestling himself in your head.
Oh man, it itches.
But yeah, how do you feel about?
I guess I'm just gonna have him on my head now.
So I guess we might as well just briefly touch on the cameos then. And that's not just including Aykroyd, but we're including all the other ones that showed up for a couple seconds and whatnot.
You have a Moriarty on your head.
Yeah, she might as well live there at this point. She's gonna get stuck in my curls. So well, unless you can face through if this is Ghost Moriarty.
Yeah, so let's talk about the weird fucking cameos in this movie. Because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm thinking they all show up for a few seconds, really. So I'm like thinking, how much did it cost to have any of these people, all of these people in it?
Let's run down the list. It's Ben Stein, Guido Sarducci, Dan Aykroyd, Clint Eastwood, Rodney Dangerfield, Mel Gibson, and the Crypt Keeper. 4 of those are literally in the same scene within a minute. Like, it's weird. I don't know if it was Spielberg calling in a bunch of weird favors. I don't know what it was, but it's really off-putting that all of them appear in the movie. And again, like 4 of them appear in the same scene.
I think the best part too is that when Mel Gibson shows up, he doesn't say anything. He just shows up.
He just goes fucking.
He just goes DreamWorks eyebrow and then leaves.
Well, and then he morphs into the Crypt Keeper. Yeah. Apparently, Spielberg was supposed to have a cameo in that scene too.
Oh my god!
But they ended up cutting it last second, I think.
But it is pretty funny that they go through all those. Yeah, and they're so random. I mean, the Crypt Keeper, not really so random, you make sense. But all the other ones, I mean, except for maybe Aykroyd too, as much as...
Ben Stein, at least they effectively work, because he's literally the first 5 minutes of the movie. He's just the guy that Kathy Moriarty's meeting with. To talk about the records. Like, I
was really disappointed that he didn't say something like the Save Ferris Foundation, $1.2 billion. Like, you know, as he's rattling off all the different
dollars.
Save the Dolphins Foundation, and then Save the Puma Foundation, and then it's like all of these animals, and then daughter Kerrigan, it's like just the house. That's it.
Oh, the interesting thing, if I can discuss the ghostly trio, who are fucking fantastic in this movie.
I love them. They are such chaotic gremlins and perfectly cast.
Oh god, well, it's back in the day when animated characters were all played by voice actors. Like, where they didn't have celebrities playing them, they were all voice actors. Because I would say Brad Garrett is probably the exception in this. Brad Garrett actually, no. He didn't do. No, he was just a voice actor at that point. I checked IMDb because I was wondering
when did he start with? Yeah, I was going to say, when did Raymond air?
97.
Oh, 97. See, it just wow, just like 2-year margin.
If you look at IMDb, all of his credits are voiceover up to that point.
Wow.
Like he was just a voice actor. He didn't do. So it's a weird instance. It's a weird instance
as a person in real life too, like physically. Yeah. I'm like, wow, good for him.
It's interesting because it's a weird instance of a voice actor who is a celebrity, but they weren't at the time.
That's like amazing.
Yeah. And was it Joe Napodi as Stretch, who's my favorite of all 3. I think he's the one who gets the best amount of material to work with of the 3.
Well, he is kind of like the ringleader, so he would have to be like the one kind of leading on a lot of the jokes.
And Stinky is the late great Joe Alasky, who did a lot of the Looney Tunes characters for a long period of time.
Yeah, you can honestly kind of hear it in his voice. Like, you could be like, yeah, this guy worked in Looney Tunes.
Yeah, no, but it's funny. So what I was saying is that all the character relationships in this movie I really like. I like how the ghostly trio work off Bill Pullman because they're in all his scenes after they show up. I like how they all work off of each other. They all feel, I don't know, they're dicks, but they're dicks, but they're not horrible. Like they still show compassion for him, even though they fuck with him.
Oh yeah, no, it's like
they're not 100% assholes to him.
Yeah, it's like they're kind of like the friend group that'll roast a guy to the point of being like, to almost like haze him into being in the friend group, where they're just going to be like they're going to be complete assholes to him up until a point, right? Until they can go, yeah, you know, you're cool, you know? So it's, I mean, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, I really love, especially the bar scene cracks me up still every time.
Oh my God. I love that there's one guy that just stays in the bar.
Yeah,
he doesn't react to anything.
Yeah, not even like when Stinky accidentally like shoots his rifle through the ceiling and this piece of plaster just smashes down on the guy and he's just kind of like not even really fazed by it happening.
Can we talk about the trench outside the bar? The giant trench for some reason that has doors leading right to it.
The comically large and conveniently placed trench right outside the entrance to the bar.
I guess as a spoiler, there's a point in the movie where Bill Pullman's character gets drunk with the ghostly trio at this bar, and he ends up opening the doors, these giant fucking doors at the bar, and for some reason there's just a trench right outside the bar.
Yeah, like literally there's construction work going on right outside the freaking door. Like the only potential entrance to this place. Like how did they even get in here to begin with?
And he falls to his death. He dies.
Yep, he does die.
And he becomes a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Which, thank God they didn't they didn't focus on that for a long time. That was the one thing that they could have done for another 5-10 minutes.
But you know what?
I'm happy they didn't.
Yeah. At the same time, I kind of I almost wish there was a short, that would have been like a window into their time together with him as a ghost. But I know we're never going to get that. But, again, it's because I really do, like you said, I like their dynamic as a group. And obviously that's what, why don't we make the trio a quartet? So obviously they have this nice dynamic. And you know what? I gotta give the ghosts credit that they are to their word when they actually said that they knew his wife. Yeah, and I like that the foreshadowing saying that she's always been an angel to me. I'm like,
what's weird because you think they do a whole scene and you think it's just a throwaway scene for a gag, and it actually it pays off in the end of the movie.
I'm like, you know what? Mad props.
Yeah, no. Okay, so let's talk about the villains in the movie, because the movie sure as fuck forgets about them.
Oh yeah. And the thing is they, when you do have them on screen, I mean, at the very least with Kerrigan, she's like an absolute raging bitch, but that's what she's good at that, right? So that you're like, okay, she's a bitch, she's like absolutely despicable, and you love that she's despicable. And then you have Eric Idle, who is so underutilized comically. Like, I feel like his lines were nowhere near. He has one or two good moments. He
doesn't get any slapsticky stuff until the third act of the movie.
Yeah, and even then, it's I feel like it doesn't land. It's just and I feel like, again, it's you have freaking Monty Python's Eric Idle, and you how do you not know what to do with him?
I think that their dynamic is fun, but he himself does not have enough material to work with. And I think I remember Eric Idle even saying he has no memory of filming this movie.
Well, he had no memory of doing a journey into your imagination for Epcot too. So there's.
Yeah, no, I remember, I think he did an interview and they asked him about Casper and he was just like, oh, I don't remember anything about the filming of that. I was in it and I remember nothing about it.
Oh my God. But yeah, again, it's a shame because I love Eric Idle and I was just
he's my favorite. He's my favorite Python. He's my absolute favorite.
So it's just so it's a real shame when you see that he doesn't. I feel like if they gave him more of the reins to figure out stuff on screen, I feel like they could have done a lot better with him. But what he was handed in terms of writing and in terms of, I guess, the direction that they gave him was they just dropped the ball on him. And that's probably another one of my gripes. Because there was a couple moments where he's really good. And again, one of my favorites is when he finally gets to have that moment of that aha, I have you now kind of over Kerrigan. And he goes, you can haunt me all you want. It's as long as I have you can haunt me even while I'm in a mansion, a great big house with purple wallpaper and green carpet and a little dog called Kerrigan, a bitch just like you.
Who's a bitch just like you.
It's such a great moment. That. And
then he dies.
Yeah. Well, we had a nice line before he died anyway.
So the movie, they're prominent for the first act, then the movie just fucking forgets about him for the entire second act of the film.
That's why I'm like, it almost makes me think that had this been written differently, I feel like you could have had them completely eliminated. They wouldn't even need to be in the film.
I had said that while I was watching the film. I was just kind of when they showed up again, I was just like, oh yeah, they're in the movie. Like I was just kind of like, with how good the second act is going, I don't know why you needed a villain. Like, because they don't contribute anything to the film until the third act, really. I don't know why we really needed a villain.
Bye, Eric Idle. Love you.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, no, I don't really, with how they handle them, I don't really understand why we needed an antagonist for the film, really.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's like, well, I like that the focus was put a lot more on having Bill Pullman interacting with the ghosts and having them kind of like start to become friends. And I mean, they literally could have been called in on like a ghost call of going like, haha. But I mean, like almost like the mayor of the town going like, take care of this kind of thing. Like literally could have had a throwaway character call them in versus having villains who want the treasure. But
they very poorly set up another antagonist with the school bully.
Yeah.
They do nothing with. They have her in like 2 scenes, and they set it up like it's going to be this big thing because so basically against her will. The school is throwing a Halloween party at her mansion. She just mentions it, and then this one kid is like, "Yo, what if we have the party at her house?" And she doesn't even say anything about that. They just all unanimously agree, yes, we're having this at your house now.
I was saying the same thing to myself earlier. I'm like, dude, they just invite themselves over to her house.
Yeah,
and she is the
she
new
had
kid
no
in
say
school.
in this. She does. I don't think she says a line when they're all talking about it.
And on top of that, it's the place that's the scariest place in town. Like literally everyone's terrified. And then immediately 180 going, okay, this is perfect. Let's just go in there. But you guys were scared shitless to go in there.
Like 2 minutes before, they were all like, you live in that house? That place is scary as shit, man. Like they're all like terrified. Why is there
There's a dog. There's a dog in the theater.
He's covering my face.
Oh, it's a good boy. It's the good boy. Then he's coming in to chase away the ghosts, I guess.
Well, can you get Aykroyd off my head?
Okay, yeah. Also, you might want to get rid of all the celebrity cameos in here because it's starting to get crazy.
Yeah, no, this has gone from being a cameo to just being a nuisance.
You think you could chase him out?
Oh, God, there he goes. Oh, no, he killed Aykroyd.
And yet he's so cute while doing it.
I guess Moriarty's just fused to your skull.
Yeah, well, she's dead, so.
Oh, God, there she goes.
She doesn't want to get killed twice, I'm assuming.
But yeah, no. So, Kathy Moriarty's character ends up dying at one point, and she comes back as a ghost. And offhandedly, I need to mention, her swearing is very distracting throughout the movie.
I feel like, again, the movie in general tries to be very... I want to say it tries to be like, oh, we're aiming this at the adults who are sitting here watching it with their kids. We're going to have
no
characters
other character swears.
They do have like
Christina Ricci says one swear.
She was like piss off, and then they have
Christina Ricci has one swear. Eric Idle has one swear. Kathy Moriarty swears in like every scene she's in.
I think she was kind of known for that kind of stuff too, right? I mean, it was just it is very distracting in a film like this that's supposed to be like a family picture.
Yeah, but fun fact, she was originally going to be played by Glenn Close or Carrie Fisher.
Wow. Oh my God, I want the Carrie Fisher one would have been so good.
Oh yeah, and Michelle Pfeiffer, that was the other one. They had 3 other choices, and honestly, I would have loved to see Carrie Fisher.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, that's what's like, I would have loved to see that. But you get what you get at this point. So,
But yeah,
Silent
so
man here
at
to
the
say, I would have also loved Carrie Fisher as that. That is amazing.
yes,
Chrissy, is that you? Chrissy, no!
She's speaking from the other dimension.
Oh God, what did you do to her?
She's just chilling. She's vibing in, the ghost dimension. No biggie.
But yeah, so they introduce this MacGuffin in the end of the second act, where you end up finding out that the treasure that Kathy Moriarty was looking for was it's fucking stupid. It's kind of my one thing with this movie where I'm like, that's a little too much.
I have to say, as like, okay, you are a 12-year-old boy. What is the number one thing that you consider a treasure? I can tell you it's not a freaking baseball.
No, I wasn't talking about the baseball. I'm talking about the fucking death potion. The
freaking Lazarus potion?
Yes. So his dad was an inventor, and there's this Frankenstein ass lab in the bottom of the mansion, which has this little roller coaster chair that goes down into the basement. And you end up finding out that Casper's dad made a potion to cure death.
He basically is to bring the dead back to life. Yeah,
and not
hence
like
the name
corpses,
Lazarus.
like ghosts, specifically ghosts. It brings ghosts back to life.
Which begs the question, because he said, as Casper says, he's like, I never crossed over because I didn't want to leave my dad while he was still alive.
Which, to briefly explain, the crossing over thing they touch on a few times. It's basically ghosts that don't go. They do acknowledge there is a heaven and hell, but basically the reason that ghosts exist is because they have some sort of unfinished business on Earth, which I've seen as lore in other ghost stuff before. But yeah, basically a ghost remains on Earth because they have some sort of unfinished business that they need to take care of.
Yeah, and which I do like that whole concept. It's funny because they do another. I mean, I know it's like whatever plot point kind of thing to help help get rid of a villain, but I still think it's so stupid how they handled that. Dude. Like just because. Okay, so can I explain this one?
Yes, please.
Okay, so on the topic of crossing over and ghosts having unfinished business. So Casper and Kat managed to trick Ghost Kerrigan into admitting that she has no unfinished business left as a ghost. She said, I have the treasure, I have the house, I have everything. I'm just perfect. And as she's maniacally laughing, all of a sudden she starts like exploding in the waves of light
start like shooting out of her,
and then she's like, no wait, I'm not ready to go yet. It's like, you tricked me. I'm like thinking, was God listening this whole time?
God,
has his hand on the button or something, just waiting for her to admit.
No, God the whole time was like, no, I want to see how this is going to play.
I want to see how this pans out.
I think of an old fucking nostalgia critic bit when you bring that up. I just think of the exact, almost word for word what you said when she fucking explodes. He just goes, oh, I guess God heard her.
You're right, he did say that. I was just thinking, I thought it while watching this, and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot that he said.
I guess
but I'm glad it
heard her.
Yeah. I'm like, I was just thinking, was he waiting there with his hand on the buzzer to like?
Wait, say it. Come on, say it. Say it. He's just waiting.
It's just freaking funny.
That's what, and here's the weird thing. You would think the movie would end like 3 minutes later. No, there's like 10-something minutes of the movie left after that.
By the way, yeah, there's still a freaking Halloween party going on.
That's
upstairs.
what I'm saying. The villains feel like they don't impact the plot that much. And I feel like you could have honestly, if they didn't have Bill Pullman fall off the trench, you could have omitted the climax of the whole of the film, and you honestly wouldn't lose anything.
Yeah, I feel like it's, again, I know it seems like it's a stupid thing to have that the bring ghost back to life thing. I think how I theorize it is that the father, even though he finished it, he never had a means of testing it or something like that. Maybe it was like maybe he didn't know that Casper was a ghost and still watching over him. I don't know.
That's the thing I find, okay, that's the thing I find weird, is that I don't know if they ever say that Casper actually saw his dad. Because he explains at one point that he got on the train to the afterlife and he fell off. Basically, like he said, something happened that caused him to stay back on Earth. He didn't go where he needed to go, so he just stayed in the mansion. So I'm like, so did you never make yourself present to your dad, or was this after your dad had already died? Or like, that's the thing. They don't really go into a lot of detail.
I almost have a theory that maybe he did, and it scared his dad so much that he died.
Oh my God.
I know it's not.
I have no means to test this potion to bring my dead son back to life. Hi, Dad. Oh my God, my dead son.
And so it's just like, so then he never had a means of testing it and never seeing if it actually did work when it actually did. And that's the tragedy of him. Maybe never realizing that he should have
tested it. He should have tested it on himself the moment he died. He should have been like dying. He should have like crawled into that Lazarus machine and then been like, all right, time to push the button.
Then again, it almost makes you think that if he died and he had no unfinished, what if the fact that he made the thing and because he had no son
and he never tested it on his son.
And I was going to say he had no unfinished business because there was no, it was almost like his son was gone. He had only this machine and he died, right? And maybe he had no unfinished business, so he thought my son's gone, and so he passed on and crossed over, and he never stayed as a ghost, so he never would have known.
That would mean but he never got to test the machine, which would make me think he does have unfinished business. This is so much more thought than I think the writers ever thought people would have about this movie.
Yeah, it's just like, again, it was. It leaves a lot for the audience to think about in circles over and over, which again, I'm sure that the writers didn't think too hard about it. They're like, it's a Casper movie, just nobody's going to take it this seriously. You know.
Look, we take movies here very seriously, and even if it's a fucking Casper movie where Dan Aykroyd was too lazy to shave his fucking mustache, we overthink these things. Yeah. Also, speaking of writing, do you want to know who did an uncredited ghostwriting rewrite of this film?
Pun. No, who?
J.J. Abrams.
Are you serious?
Yes, I was looking into the production of the film, and J.J. Abrams had apparently confirmed that he actually did a script rewrite of this film uncredited.
Wow.
I don't know how much he had rewritten, but he had said that he did rewrite a few things like before the finalized product.
JJ, it was in your hands. You could have fixed some things. You're telling me he could have fixed things.
Interestingly enough, do you know who's originally going to direct this movie?
Who?
Alex Proyas. Now, does that name sound familiar?
A little.
That's the director of The Crow.
Oh my God.
The director of The Crow and Gods of Egypt, one of the worst films I've ever seen.
It could have been worse, I guess.
I can't even imagine what this movie would have been like. Apparently,
can you imagine it could have become a cult film in terms of like how notorious it could be.
Yeah, apparently he left production because of disagreements, I think, with the screenwriters or something like that. But yeah, no, I found out he was the original like director. I'm like, that would have been a completely different movie.
Yeah. Wow. God, there's a lot of interesting trivia that's gone on into this. Well, I mean, it is a very unique film, especially for what it was at the time. And the direction it tried to go in, especially for Casper, which was a very harmless, innocent property from decades before. Like, I want to say,
and
was Casper like, I want to say the 30s, 40s, something like that.
40s? I want to say at the earliest. Let me look it up. I want to say at the earliest, like late 30s.
Yeah.
Casper, the first Casper short was 1945.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean, and very innocent shorts. I mean, of course, they approach death and all that kind of stuff in some of them, but I mean, it's Casper the Friendly Ghost. He's cute, right? He's harmless, and so it was, so this film was very unique in what it was trying to do, especially with something as innocent a property as Casper.
And this was the first Casper property in almost 20 years at the time that this was made.
Yeah, what an entrance to come back to, come back
again, made
to
300 nearly 300 million fucking dollars at the box office. And again, at the end of the day, I don't know. I think it's weird because I've never fully understood the heavy criticism this movie gets.
Yeah, not that it's got problems, but
it's not considered one of the worst movies ever made. Like, I think on Rotten Tomatoes it's like a 52, but I don't know. It seems a lot more negative than I think the movie really should be, or it should get.
And on top of that, it's something that, as much as it tries to take itself seriously in some degrees with like the heavier themes, at the same time, the overall product, as much as we like to analyze things, we're looking at from a technical standpoint of like a filmmaking standpoint, is that it's still just a goofy. Still a goofy family-esque.
It's a
Halloween
fun. It's just a fun, simple movie. I don't know. I don't know what people were expecting out of it, I guess, back then, because it's just kind of something I look at where, even comparative to live action CG hybrids that came out like 10 years later or like in the following years, they don't do like a lot. There's no fart jokes, and there's not really any like raunchy. Like, there's a couple like again, there's a surprising amount of vulgarity in it, but there's not really any like raunchy, gross out humor. There's no fart jokes. Like, there's pop culture jokes, but they're not prevalent to a point where it's annoying.
Yeah, considering that one of the characters is literally named Stinky, you could have.
And he doesn't fart. He just has dragon breath. He just
literally
that breath.
So I'm like, wow, what? It's so funny. You think about it, just like, wow, what a trailblazer to be a Stinky character and not have to rely on fart jokes. Go Stinky.
Yeah, but like the success of this movie was kind of fucking amazing, because there was a show the year after, which I've never seen, the Spooktacular Adventures, I think is what it was called. But I never watched it because that was the year I was born, and I don't think they did reruns of that show very often when I was like 5. So
and then actually Malachi was brought back to be the voice of Casper for that.
Every voice, like I mean, Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci didn't come back, but they brought back pretty much everyone else.
Yeah, and
they introduced a bunch of other characters that surprisingly stayed prevalent in the Casper lore, like fucking Spooky and Poyle. Like, and then they made some straight-to-video movies.
Nothing but quality.
Spirited Beginning. I guess we should briefly discuss those. Spirited Beginning is one of. I have seen Casper: Spirited Beginning. It is a prequel. I don't understand how the fuck it's a prequel, because it doesn't take place in the same town. The mansion is now in the middle of town as opposed to on a cliff. Casper has no fucking memory of number one, they introduced new characters which also stayed prevalent, like Kabosh and Snivel, played by fucking Pauly Shore. But Spirited Beginning is really fucking weird because the ghostly trio were already living in the mansion, and they just kind of adopt Casper, like at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the plot is that Casper falls off the fucking train that he was supposed to go to the underworld, I guess, or something. And Kabosh, who's the head or the warden of the ghost zone, who's played by James Earl Jones, of all fucking people, basically is like, hey, this fucking ghost fell off the train. Go get him.
So it was Soul before Soul.
Yeah, but not good. And again, the movie because the movie's a prequel. It is called a prequel, but it takes place in modern times. So
Yeah.
he's already he doesn't realize he's a ghost until 5 minutes into scaring the shit out of all the people in town. There's just so many fucking inconsistencies with that movie. Because again,
I see it as like a prequel in an alternate universe. Basically, it connects to nothing.
it connects to nothing. Because it again, the movie implies that he died in what, the 1920s, 30s,
Yeah.
like it's like the early 20th century. And this
I want to
movie
say the
again
whole
opens
reference
on,
with the sled in the 1995 Casper is like, he had a sled that he wanted to play with, and all I could think of was Rosebud.
Rosebud. That's another old nostalgia critic joke that he made during that scene. It's just
But
I got sick. My dad got sad. Rosebud.
but I mean, I swear to God even if it's a joke in the movie, I swear that's why they did it. It was to be a time, almost like a timestamp for when he died, because it could have very well have been, just because like Citizen Kane came out at in this year, that's when he died in that year. So let's just make a reference to the movie that in the year that he died, so that we know that's how long he's been dead, kind of thing.
Here's the weird thing though. So the baseball, so Casper's treasure, we explained earlier, was a baseball, and the reason that he loved it so much was because it was signed by Duke Snider of the Brooklyn Dodgers. So I looked up Duke Snider because I was wondering, okay, when because I wanted to get an approximation of when he died.
Mhm.
So I looked up when Duke Snider played baseball. He played for the Dodgers from 47 to 62.
So he would
Which
have
is a lot. Which is a lot later than I thought Casper would have died.
So it would have been like, at the very least, if we're going to make an estimation, then it would be like 1947.
It'd be
If we're going to be the very earliest.
I'm going to assume the 50s is when he died. But I don't know. The way the movie plays it, and a lot of the shit in the mansion, including like the toy room, the Casper's old toy room, a lot of those things look like they were made in like the 1920s, like teens and 20s. Like the movie is not very consistent. But yeah, no, Casper's Spirited Beginning. Never watch it. It's genuinely one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Like it is insulting comparative to the first movie. It is so bad. Never watch it.
So
I have not
literally just watched the original.
Yeah, no, just watch the original. There's the one with Hilary Duff. I think it's called Casper Meets Wendy.
Wendy. That's right, because Wendy was a character canonically.
I never watched that fucking movie, and if it's like Spirited Beginning, I really don't want to watch it. So I don't have any approximation as to the quality of that one.
I remember I watched it, but I can't remember anything that happens. It's been that long.
I guess tying back to the movies, apparently they had talked about doing a sequel to it for a long time, like a theatrical sequel, because the first movie did so well. Apparently the reason they didn't do Casper 2 was because of the poor performance of the straight-to-video movies.
Oh.
And apparently Christina Ricci didn't want to do it. That was the other reason.
Yeah, there's that.
But yeah, no, from what I had read, the primary reason was because the lackluster sales of the VHS tapes for the spin-off movies or whatever.
Yeah, so
It's weird. Casper has always been something that never went away, but never stayed prevalent past the 90s. It's really weird.
So like a ghost hanging around.
Yes. I remember they tried to reboot him in like the mid 2000s with, I think, Scare School is what it was called. That fully animated movie with Devin Werkheiser from Ned's Declassified as Casper, which was a really weird choice. There's a lot of really weird actors in that movie. Like I think Bob Saget and Jim Belushi are the villains in that movie. Oh my God. Yeah, no, it's weird. I've always found it fascinating that they've never really tried to redo anything with Casper or really any of the stuff like Mighty Mouse, things like I think that Harvey Toons had owned. I know DreamWorks fucking owns them, which means they're probably never going to do anything with them.
Yeah, it's kind of like when they got the except they did stuff with them, was to get the rights to when you had whatchamacallit, the
Rocky and
Bullwinkle, Peabody and Sherman kind of stuff.
They did shit with them
and Trolls, but they did stuff with those for
2-3 years, and then they just stopped using them. But I did.
We already know not to discuss P and S, but that's only
talk about Peabody and Sherman.
But that's only because I know it's not seen as favorable, and it's like, I mean, I'm far more forgiving on it, but yes, it's still got plenty of problems. I just think it just gets way more hate than I think it
makes me angry. It makes me angry.
It's like I will not tread that. I will not tread that ground this time around.
Oh God. Oh God! The poster's possessed. Oh Jesus! Oh God! What's happening?
What if
God!
The poster,
there it goes!
Poster crossed over. The poster crossed over.
Oh my God! It crossed over.
So does that mean it's finished business?
Are we free now? Can I go home?
Oh my God!
Is that Timothy? Is that Timothy?
She broke out. She broke out from the ghost dimension.
Oh my God!
Except she's tiny.
Why are you tiny? Chrissy, oh my God, it's you!
To communicate through Dan Aykroyd for like an hour.
You possessed Dan Aykroyd?
Yes. This is the big addition on this episode of the Power Bottom Hour.
Oh God! Oh God, she's huge!
I am eternal.
Oh God!
I am Dan. Anyways, thanks for.
But Lauren. So we recommend the Casper movie. Hey, Chrissy, what do you think of Casper?
I love the Casper movie. It's very good. I wish Carrie Fisher was the villain. That was fantastic. Also, just want to say about the Lazarus potion. I have a theory about that one, if we have time for Chrissy to give her Chrissy.
Yes. Hello. Hello. We're going to have last minute interruption from the giant head of Chrissy.
So the thing is that throughout the movie, Casper didn't really have much of a memory of his past life, and it only really started to develop over the course of the movie, which makes me theorize, because that was the thing with Bill Pullman's ghost, is that he forgot who Cat was until
immediately.
So it seems like this was a mythos thing that they just didn't establish well, that ghosts don't remember their past lives.
Well, no, they in the lighthouse scene, Christina Ricci asks him, do you remember your mom and dad? Like, do you remember your mom? He's like, no. Do you remember your dad? I'm like, no. And it's like, why don't you remember your family? I'm like, I don't know. I guess just over time, I just stopped thinking about it. So that implies he did remember it at some point.
At some point. I mean, but that's the same thing with Kerrigan, because Kerrigan immediately remembers, but I feel like memories can dissipate faster in ghosts than people. But my thing is, I think that Casper having trouble crossing over and not interacting with his dad, I don't know if he remembered what his dad looked like or anything. So he could have just been in that house.
Ooh.
Our theory, oh my god, our theory might actually be right. Maybe Casper did kill him by accident because he didn't remember
There you
what his dad
go.
looked like.
And right when I thought I was just having.
Also, we forget. I'll leave the audience off on this theory. Do you think Stinky killed him? Goodbye.
He was so rancid that he was so rancid that everyone died. The end.
Everyone died. The end.
That didn't help at all.
All right.
But anyway, so maybe our theory will maybe it actually holds some water. So I'll leave that for the audience to decide. But for now, I must pick up my popcorn and my soda drink and all that good stuff. And I must
had food?
Yeah,
You had food?
I had ghost concessions.
Where'd you get the ghost concessions? I didn't see any food. And no, answer, where'd you find the food? Oh God, I'm alone again. Help.